we'll lead this one off with Austin Ward from Leonard Monroe.
Zach, there's so many people praising you for the way that you've attacked this offseason and maybe changed. Do you feel different heading into year 3? What does it mean when the way people are talking about you becoming a leader right now?
I just made the decision at the end of last season, going into this offseason. I was like, I'm just going to give everything I got to this program. I'm going to give everything I got to every workout, every sprint, every drill, every rep. And I think the coaches are seeing the results of that, just the mindset change that I had going into this season.
All righty, let's go next to Spencer Holbrook from Leonard Monroe. Spencer.
Zach, what's it like for you to take on more of a leadership role? You've seen a couple guys on the defensive side and on the defensive line take that before. What did you learn from those guys, and what's been your experience so far as one of the leaders of the defense?
That's the thing for me. I'm not trying to be a leader. I'm just being myself. I feel like I've built a bond with the guys, and they trust me, and I trust them, and they know that Zach's going to do the right thing. And so when I tell them or when I ask them, tighten up, you got to do this, that, and third, then they listen, they trust in me, and it goes both ways. They know that if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, they can tell me, Zach, you got to tighten up, you got to run the ball or whatever the issue is. And that's how I feel like the best leadership and that's my way of leadership is the give and go and the bond. That's how I built built up my voice for my teammates.
All righty, next up, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Zach, when you look back on last season, I guess how do you assess your performance? How did you kind of like look back on year 2 here?
Year 2, to be honest, I didn't have quite the year that I wanted to. Year 2, and that's why I changed my mindset. That's why I changed my approach going into this offseason, and hopefully this fall, y'all can see the results of the hard work.
All right, we'll go next to Nathan Baird, cleveland.com.
Hey, Zach, there was sort of this ongoing debate or conversation last season between the idea of the defensive front creating pressure and then actually getting home for sacks. How would you evaluate your own performance there, and is it something you feel like needs to convert from one to the other?
Yeah, it's definitely something we talked about, all the D linemen. We're getting there, but we got to get home, and that's something that we focused on going into the spring. The first practice was today. And we're going to get on the film on Monday, and we're going to watch it, we're going to assess it, and we're going to talk about, okay, these are the things that we need to do to get that extra half a yard or that extra 3 feet or that extra inch to get to the quarterback. And that's something that we've focused on heavily going into this offseason and spring ball and eventually camp in the season.
All righty, next up, Jared Smalley, WCMH.
Well, Zach, you're sounding awfully motivated, and clearly you've impressed your coaches with that. But I wanted to ask specifically why. You were talking about your performance from last year. Is it simply a consistency standpoint, or what's maybe the thing that you feel like you need to take that next step for?
Yeah, it's probably consistency. I still have flashes of my potential, and I got to try to get to where I can get that every single play on a consistent basis, in and out, every down, every game where there's no fall off.
All right, we'll go next to Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Zach. You just mentioned potential. That's a word that's obviously followed you around since high school, especially being a local guy. How much pressure have you felt to live up to that, to be the next Bosa, the next Chase Young? I mean, obviously it's hard to compare yourself to other people, and that's not fair. But do you feel like you're ready to take that jump and be the next dominant Ohio State defensive end? I
feel like I can. Yeah, I feel like I'm ready to do that. Like I said, I've been giving my all to this year and this training, and I've seen changes in my body, and I've seen changes in the way I feel and the way I'm moving. So I feel like I'm excited for this next step to be, to really make my own legacy here, not try to follow anybody's footsteps, trying to be myself to where people know. Zach Harrison, that's the name that they know.
And can you say how your body's changed? Have you put on weight, anything with your body?
The biggest thing for me is really flexibility. I've been stretching more in the training room and trying to get, my hips and everything where I can bend the edge and feel more fluid in my movements.
Right, thank you.
All righty, next up, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Hey, Zach, you had a front row seat a couple years ago to see what Chase Young did in his third year at Ohio State. What are the things you feel like you can take from watching him and maybe apply to your own, third year jump at Ohio State?
Practice habits. That's one thing I focused on when I was freshman watching Chase. He made plays in practice that y'all never saw. And that correlates to games, and that's one thing that I took to heart. You gotta show it in practice because it's not just going to show up on Saturdays.
All righty, let's go next to Tim May from Letterman Row.
Yeah, Zach, if we don't get to watch practice, obviously, but if we'd watched you today, for example, what would we have seen that's different about you compared to even the end of last year? You're talking about this new dedication, et cetera, but more savage. How would you describe your approach?
I'm just trying to play fast all the time. There's a little cart. Just trying to play fast every play, get my play speed up, and like I said previously, I just trying to make more plays in practice, have my production points go up as we're graded out after practice.
Thanks, man.
All righty, let's go next to Doug Lamarice, cleveland.com.
Hey, Zach. You talked about that you just didn't quite have the year last year that you wanted to. You obviously still had a good year, but especially early in the year, were you playing as much as you wanted to? I know you guys always rotate defensive ends, but how did you feel about sort of your role in that rotation at different parts of the year?
I mean, I trust Coach Jett, and I trust the rotation, and that's worked, and that's what's best. I feel like for our D line, keep us fresh, like we always talk about, keep us fresh, keep us fast, and that's one thing I got 100% faith in all the coaches and what their decisions is what I believe in.
And just real quick, we know the legacy of defensive ends here at Ohio State, from the Bosa brothers to Chase and everybody else. For a guy like you who is such a big recruit, is it fair? Is it to talk about that in regards to you? Does it add any pressure? Is it unfair? Do you welcome that? What's it like when your position has such a legacy at Ohio State?
I mean, we don't really talk about it in-house. I mean, most of that comes from outside, so I don't really think about it often, and I'm not trying to follow anyone's footsteps. Like I said, I'm trying to be myself. I'm trying to build my own name and build my own image here at Ohio State. Leave my own legacy at Ohio State. So that's one thing that doesn't really enter my mind a lot. Just the follow in the footsteps. That's not something that I think about often. I'm trying to build my own self. Start my own path.
Thank you, Zach.
All righty, next up, Clay Hall, WSYS.
Hey, Zach, good to see you. Who replaces Tommy Togiai, and what did you take from his rapid rise, playing so well in the postseason and now to be a draft-eligible player?
Yeah, that's one of the things that helped me change my mindset. I saw Tommy do that last year. Coming back from my sophomore, his junior year, he had goals and he wanted to reach them. And you should see him every workout. He went hard on the sprints, every practice. He was giving 100%, and that's something that I took from Tommy, and that's something that I tried to incorporate.
Yeah, who fills that spot, sir?
We got a lot of guys. We got Antoine that knows. Teron plays knows. We got a couple of freshmen. Tyleek, he looks really good, really promising guy. Really, we got most of the inside guys are back, so
yeah,
a lot of guys have the opportunity to step up into that role that Tommy filled.
Thank you.
All righty, we'll go next to Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Down SI.
Zach, it sounds like you certainly made a conscious effort to try to take that step forward. I'm curious if you're actively thinking about the idea that people often say you don't grow unless you put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Are you trying to put yourself in spots, whether it's in the weight room, in the meeting room, on the practice field, things that maybe you haven't done before that feel a little off, a little different, a little uncomfortable? Are you actively trying to do those kinds of things to grow?
Yeah, I am. It's like you said, you can't grow unless you're uncomfortable. You don't grow in your comfort zone. And that's one thing that I try to put myself out of my comfort zone, whether it's the lift, going harder on doing 2 more reps when my arms are tired, or let's say it's a pass rush rep and I'm gassed. It's the last play to rack, trying to get off as fast as I was the first play, running to the ball just like I was the first play. So just building up my stamina and my endurance. And like you said, putting myself in uncomfortable situations. So when when game time rolls around and it's fourth quarter and I got nothing left, I've been there before. I've done that, so I know what it feels like.
All right, we'll do two real quick ones to finish up here. We'll go to Dan Hope and then Austin Ward. Dan.
Hey, Zach, Jack Sawyer's another local guy coming in as a freshman. Just wondering, what have you seen from him in winter workouts and then going into his first practice?
Jack's a worker. You know, he's one of those guys who's gonna give everything he's got all the time. And Jack's got a lot of skill. Jack's quick. Jack's fluid. So I feel like Jack's gonna be a good player here at Ohio State.
All righty, and then last question to Austin Ward.
Zach, we know that Coach Combs is always intense, but when he was talking with us, you know, he put all the responsibility on himself, maybe for what happened in the title game or any of the weeks the defense maybe didn't play up to its potential. What's he been like to be around? I know it's still pretty early in spring camp, but is there a different level of intensity for him right now?
It's the same energy as Coach Combs. There's always 100%. He gives 100% of him all the time, and we feed off that. We need a guy like that who's going to bring juice to the defense and get us pumped up and get us going. And a guy that we can put all of our trust in, because I 100% trust in Coach Combs. So.
All righty, Zach. Thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All righty, folks. We'll talk to you.